That had to be Bradley. Okay. So, Neill, we've heard a number of speakers in the previous sessions set the stage for you very well by talking about data centers. So, can we just hear some reinforcement on why data centers are so important in the digital economy going ahead?
Thanks, Madan, and thank you to all the speakers earlier for making my job so easy. Obviously, like Madan said, Wingu.africa is a company that builds and runs carrier-neutral data centers all around East Africa. We believe that carrier-neutral data centers are absolutely key to building the ICT ecosystem in any market, country, or town. It is a place where operators, OTTs, CDNs, whoever can interconnect with multiple parties to ensure faster, more efficient routing, lower costs, and all the other, let's say, positives that come out of collaborating and connecting. If I could maybe liken it to an African town, it would be like having an African town without a marketplace. So if you wanted to purchase anything, let's say fruit, you would have to walk around town looking for someone selling fruit in order to buy. That limits your options because whoever you come across first and whatever fruit they may have is your option to buy. So you are limited in terms of option. You can't negotiate on price or quality. Whereas as soon as you have a carrier-neutral data center environment, you can sort of negotiate or discuss or select the quality of the product you want, the different services that you like, and obviously then the price of that. So it does have a lot of positives across a lot of different areas of the business.
We also heard about resilience. The previous panel talked about business continuity and things of that sort. So how would a data center strategy help a company, a government agency build resilience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've heard so much about how important being online all the time or having access all the time is for enterprises, for end users, for companies. What we provide, obviously, is the ability to be on all the time. Now, that means that we provide a position where your equipment is never down, okay? And then we invite the connectivity operators, whether they be ISPs, MNOs, whoever's going to be delivering that content service to the end user, to also be present so that multiple suppliers can deliver that into the market. So it really does build a really resilient, not only delivery mechanism to the end user, but also to be able to fetch information from international carriers, OTTs, etc. So it provides resilience both facing the end user, but also facing the suppliers of the different services. So resilience is part of what we do.
Neill, we also heard about requirements for data centers, such as electricity and things of that sort. So going ahead, how are the energy requirements for you being met within different African markets where you're present?
This is such a key topic in so many places. Not only the provision or the sort of generation of the power, because power is absolutely key. Everything we do is about power. And it's become kind of a hot topic recently, globally, because of how power is generated, how it's delivered. In Africa, for the most part, a lot of our power is actually generated by hydro, so it is a sustainable form of energy. We are actually quite green. Having said that, there are constant advancements in generation, and those we'll continue to have a look into those and see how we can harness that and use it in future data center operations. More of a challenge in African data centers is the supply, so the delivery. What we find in some of the regions where we are is that the delivery network sometimes fails us, sometimes flaps, sometimes there's a short spike or whatever, and that can have obviously serious consequences for telecommunications equipment. So the trick here is to have a nice, constant, even supply for the telecommunications equipment, and that can be problematic. Obviously, as soon as our equipment experiences a dip or a spike, the primary generator will fire up, and that's obviously automated. It'll hand over to UPS. So we find that the costs to run the data center are high, not because we don't have power, but because the quality of the power is sometimes not exactly how we would like it.
From the supply side, let's go to the demand side. We just heard some speakers talk about there's a huge demand for video content by smartphone users. There's going to be a lot of algorithms and AI and all that stuff. So how can you foresee these kinds of demands, and how are you meeting these kinds of demands?
The demands in Africa are fantastic, and we foresee a huge amount of growth over the next couple of years. A lot of the previous panels were talking about, getting access to more of the population, trying to push, smartphone users or push the price accessibility to smartphones down, and I think that will further drive the requirements for these kind of apps. I know that I was in Somaliland recently, and the minister was saying, we're not bringing TikTok because all the young people are just watching it and they're wasting their time. But the truth is that young people want to see these things. They want to access this kind of information. We are already on the carrier neutral side. We are engaging with a lot of these content distribution guys, a lot of the content providers, to bring them closer. Once they are closer, obviously it costs the network less to deliver to their end users. So we're also trying to play our part in building the ecosystem, bringing more of the content closer, and that will again make things more efficient. It will increase the end user sort of experience, and it'll also make it more cost effective to deliver. So hopefully through all of that we can also help drive the cost of access down.
That issue came up quite a bit in the previous panel, how to make all this affordable. So it's not just big companies and government agencies that are using ICTs now. It's also the small and medium enterprises, it's NGOs. So how do you make data centers affordable for these smaller users, smaller organizations?
It is amazing, with the advent, as COVID rolled around and everybody started working from everywhere other than the office. Cloud services have obviously become a massive thing for the workforce. So we have seen this massive requirement. The way that data centers drive costs down is simply through economies of scale. So we build a data center, we house multiple service providers, multiple operators on one set of, let's say, generators, or on one set of infrastructure. Whereas previously, before this, every network would have their own data centers, and that's quite a costly way of doing things. I mean, in some of the new markets where we see a lot of the SMEs having data rooms, where they're putting their own servers, trying to keep costs down. But the beauty of the data center is our solution is completely scalable. So if you're an SME, you can take a quarter rack, a very small amount of space, a very small amount of power, and that can scale as your business grows. So there's no outlay of equipment, of infrastructure, generators, etc., to ensure that you're always up. We have all of that. There's no capex. It's simply an operational cost, and it's completely scalable. You start small and you grow as your business grows.
Great, thanks. Looking ahead now, let's say we come back here in a year or so. What are some of your future plans, and how do you think you will meet the expectations of the market, of government, of partners, and so on?
We've been really, blessed. We started building quite some time ago in Tanzania, and the feedback from the market that we've received has been so positive. From the network operators who want to be in a carrier-neutral data center, the ISPs all want to be involved. The IXP, the TIX are very, very keen to be there. So I think because Tanzania has quite a mature ICT ecosystem already, all the players can really see the value of having that. And so I think if you come back in 2 years, I'm hoping that you would have seen Wingu.africa, Tanzania, expand, not only at our existing site, but hopefully to other sites as well within the country. So that's what I'm hoping you'll see if you come back in a couple of years, and that's how we are trying to help the sort of growth in this country.
Fantastic. Last question. We've got a lot of government people in the audience from Tanzania and other countries as well. What are your thoughts on data sovereignty and things of that sort? How should countries be approaching the issue of where should our data lie? Who owns the data? And how do you help such strategies come to fruition?
Yeah, it's a difficult one for me to make. Obviously, different markets and different governments have looked at it slightly differently. There are certain sets of data that the government feels should be housed within the country, which I agree with. I think there are there's certain information that should be housed locally. I think financial information should be housed locally. I think some of the sort of population information should be housed locally. So there are things that need to be housed locally. Obviously, you just need to have a look at, my feeling is more than where it's housed is how secure that information is. And I think that is probably more important to me than where it's housed, is just to ensure that the right people have access and everyone else that shouldn't have access doesn't. Obviously, with government information and localized information, obviously having it within country means it's closer to the end user, it's easy to access, it's cheaper to access. So I agree with having sort of data sovereignty and having things housed locally. But like I say, more than where it's housed is how it's housed and who looks after it, ensuring that everything is correct.
That's a very reassuring note on which we must end this fireside chat. Thanks so much, Neill. This once again a round of applause for Neill Nortje from Wingu.africa. He'll be around to take more questions during the lunch break. We break now for lunch. You've all earned a very good lunch. Let's come back for lunch, after lunch at 2:30. So we take a 1 hour break now for lunch, and I'll see you back here at 2:30 for the rest of the afternoon sessions. Those of you who need some of the other materials, please come and catch me in the front over here. Thank you so much, and once again, Neill, lovely having you here.